Today on Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond.
You often hear that you just never know where your path will take you. And it's always often said, don't stop before the miracle. And the miracle is beauty and sexuality and grace and gratitude for my whole life.
A third of the people love you, a third don't care about you, and a third hate you. So you concentrate on the third that love you and you go for it.
I think the greatest Achilles heel for leaders is they don't give themselves time to think.
So my journey is one of those, there are a lot of detours. There's a lot of going off on the side roads.
Thrive Out listeners, you're in for a treat. We're here with Jamal Mashburn,
Jesse Itzler,
the John Maxwell,
Jackie the Joke Man Martling, New York Rangers great Mike Richter,
Lisa Lampanelli,
Mary Carrillo.
Oh, how nice.
I'm actually going through the practice of being an entrepreneur.
Pick yourself up, brush yourself off, and thrive loud.
Get ready to thrive loud with Lou Diamond.
I love it.
My waves get lost in the ocean. 7 billion swimmers, man, I'm going through the motions. Set up a flare, need love and devotion. Traded for some faces.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond, connecting you to the most inspiring and amazing people that are thriving each and every day. I'm your host, Lou Diamond. Today on Thrive Loud, everybody just strap up or strap on, whatever it might be. We have an aging expert, therapist, writer, media personality, and a model.
Cougar.
She is a Cougar model, and that too, we'll get to that. She is the grandmother of 3 and celebrity author of 2 groundbreaking books, RetroAge, the 4-step program to a younger you, and The Complete Idiot's Guide to Looking and Feeling Younger. She is an inspiring role model for women around the world. She's seen by millions internationally as Fox Magazine's first featured senior, on New York One's Focus on Seniors, Regis and Kathie Lee. She's been on The Howard Stern Show, Dr. Drew, Joy Behar, CBS News, Inside Edition, Discovery, Nightline, and Netflix. She is dedicated to transforming both the negative news and the too often dreaded experience of aging. As a cougar, which she mentioned earlier, she helps women appreciate their unique beauty and desirability, and her Hattitudes serve to empower women at every age. Never forget the you in youth. Thrive Loud listeners, I bring you Hattie Wiener. Hattie, how are you today?
Well, I always have to be wonderful because I have that great assignment of being a sexy cougar.
To say this is going to be an interesting show, our listeners, we've covered the gamut. From top CEOs to entrepreneurs to some of the more interesting topics you could ever have. We had an entire episode about happy vaginas. So here we are today talking about a cougar. Now, I want to clarify this. Can you share with the listeners your age and also share a little bit about almost the bravado and proudness you have about all of that?
Well, I didn't expect all this to happen. They sometimes say your future meets you when you don't know it's coming at you. Well, it certainly did. And you can spell that C-U-M-I-N-G. Anyhow, as you've already heard, I don't hesitate to be vulgar. So I was a psychotherapist and dealing with people of all ages. And of course, the issue of depression and aging comes up, but always the issue of sex. And I decided to do some research. I was a single woman, divorced after 25 years. And so I started to speak to my patients about what they could do sexually and what they were afraid of and what they hated. And I had a lot of confidence. I was a dancer, and also I was almost a virgin. So I thought that anytime you see a standing up dick that's an upstanding citizen, then you fuck. What do I know? I mean, I never had a headache, and it just always seemed like a good idea. And my husband was a dancer, and he was always up for it. So that was a good beginning to who I am now. Well, I was working with a patient, and this was psychotherapy. And suddenly, even though all focus is on your patient, she says to me, Hattie, wait a minute. Dolce & Gabbana called me this morning, and they want an older, sexy woman to be in an ad for Vogue and Vanity Fair. So just get a bathing suit and go. So I figure, okay, let me finish the session. I'm supposed to be taking care of this woman who knew she was going to change my life. And I go to this go-see, and I'm completely without self-consciousness. Now, that comes of being a dancer. I think you're in the dressing rooms and everybody just takes all their clothes on and gets into their leotard. So that was like no self-consciousness, always a part of me. So I go down and I change into my bathing suit. Maybe there was a dressing room, maybe there wasn't. But anyway, they said, yes, we want you. Turns out that Dolce & Gabbana had an amazing, wild photographer, Stephen Klein. And Stephen Klein does Madonna. He never does ordinary stuff. So he's looking at the pictures of the extras, and all I was an extra. And he says, who's this one? Who's this one? I said, she's sitting behind you. And he said, okay, you. And through the whole shoot, he called me you. So anyway, we're doing the shoot, and I'm in a gold bathing suit. And he says, you, I know me. And he says, come sit here. And then he says to this really buff young guy in his 20s, muscular, all oiled up and looking fabulous. He says, sit next to Hattie and hold her hand. Look at her adoringly as if you're falling in love. And he does. He's an actor. Let's hope he might have felt it, but he's an actor. So that was it. And I thought, that's the end of it. Then it flew off the page, and TLC picked up on it. They wanted to do a reality show, the Cougar. And all I knew was I was a psychotherapist with a good body. I mean, I fucked, but I didn't think I'd have a special name and international fame, a name and fame.
All right. So I'm going to address two things. First of all, let's talk about for a quick second, the general perception of getting older and being sexy. Do you feel, look, it sounds like you've always had a libido, but do you feel that with age, that's one of the biggest challenges that men and women face as they get older? And someone as a therapist might have a good perspective of this.
Well, I can admit that I hated aging. The thought of aging was, I will be very strong in my negative verbiage. I was repulsed because when I was a little girl, my mother took me to a steam room with Russian immigrant ladies, and it was hot and it was smelly and everything was hanging off them. And I'm looking up and I'm saying, no way ever. But when I started to have breasts and grow up myself, I realized I have to make a change. So I got involved in dance, and I was sexual, and I was beautiful, and I was graceful, and all those things were going very well until I got divorced at 50, came along with menopause, and then I knew that things were not going to be the same. And I did a lot of research, and I still do, and I found ways in which I could keep my sexuality and my orgasms alive. Now, most people are stuck with the fear and stuck with the impotency. And I am telling you, it does not have to be that way. And I have the big assignment of proving it as often as I can. Isn't that really virtuous of me?
So let's go through this, because I'm doing some math here. All right. So you're 82 years old. And there was a window of time, let's say 30 years ago, when you were in your early 50s, when there was a lot of concern about, sexual protection and everything. Obviously, the 80s had just ended and all of that stuff that had gone. And there was actually a lot of fear about sex in the community within that.
Starting, and that was confounding. That was actually more confronting than my age. AIDS was more confronting than age. I was scared. All of a sudden, sperm and blowjobs were not as delicious as they were before.
Oh my God! So, but for all our listeners need to know, I just fell out of the chair. Okay, but not only that, but with that, my point. I'm trying to bring this into a normal conversation. I don't know if I can. I guess my point was, here you were confronting age, and you're also confronting a sexual. Everyone was being much more concerned and much more fearful. Yes. Let's talk about what's happened since that, because that has seemed to fade, I would imagine, and it seems to be sexual activity. I don't know if it's gone off the radar, or maybe there's just more ways of protection. My concern from your point of view is how you have approached it as you physically and mentally have changed over those years.
That turns into a very extraordinary and valuable question. It was my passion for never losing passion that set me on a search. I wrote a book about anti-aging. I researched masturbation, the G-spot. I went to places where they sell special supplements for restoring to sexuality, dildos, all vibrators, all sorts of things that I never would have thought about before. But in doing them, I felt a degree of shame because I was getting older and I was doing all sorts of slutty things. And I do have, I have part of society's message in my brain, even though I work to get rid of it. But in the course of it, I realized that men love their dicks and women do not understand that. And so they are always concerned that they are not good enough for the man. Meanwhile, the man is wondering whether he's good enough for them. So that's part of the message. And in my zeal to keep my orgasms and to keep my sexuality and to keep my grace and my beauty, and most important, to be a role model, Lou. Being a role model is the force behind everything I do. So I have sex, yes, and I love it, yes. But I particularly love that either I have taken the assignment or I have been given the assignment to inspire and inspire and inspire. So it's gone far beyond Hattie's personal satisfaction, how many men have had a marvelous time. It's gone beyond that. And it's become a very beautiful, actually humanistic, erotic experience that I'm still living.
Hey there! If you're enjoying how Lou is connecting with this guest in this interview, then just imagine how impactful he can be in person. As an international speaker and consultant, Lou Diamond is all about getting organizations to thrive through the power of connecting. To learn more about how you can hire Lou to speak at your company, your conference, or your next event, head on over to loudiamond.net and click the Book Lou button to learn more. He'll truly get everyone to thrive loud. All right, let's get back to the show.
Hattie, I want to ask this question. Women that are your friends, your peers, acquaintances, and obviously there's social stigma, and from a different generation and in a different perception around sex. How is that? Because obviously there are less people like you at your age that think the way that you do. How do you interact with that, and how is that? How are you perceived? I guess amongst your peers. They
resent me. They think that it's like disrespectful. I mean, I do not exactly have an unfoul mouth. I say fuck. I say slut. I say pussy. I say all these things because I want to lighten up the whole conversation of sex. However, when people start losing the capacity to have orgasms, or they feel they're getting fatter or some wrinkled or whatever, they don't want to see someone right in their face saying, fuck. It's great. The penis is not looking at your cellulite. The penis doesn't know from wrinkles. It doesn't know from size. Like, please start honoring yourself. Look, if I can do it, you can do it. But there are a lot of women who would wish I fell in a sinkhole. Except, my dear, and most the young ones, and that's where I get my inspiration from young people, premenopausal. Excuse me.
So that's actually a great question. So you're actually looked up as a role model by many women who are in their 40s, 30s, 20s, even 20s, even younger these days.
Up there. Mm-hmm.
They're looking at you and saying, wow, I see that she is thinking like the way I think, maybe, or I hope to have that much verb, vigor, sexual drive, libido, whatever word you want at that age. Is that some of the things that
want to be as hot as Hattie?
Okay.
And I say, absolutely. And, when you think about it, Lou, I just started out as a dancer, and then a dancing school, and a mother and a wife, and raised my children. And then I became a therapist to make enough money to send them to college. I didn't think of myself as being this sexual role model, especially as a senior. So everything that's come to me has been such a gift and such a blessing that I say, okay, fine that it's been given you, but what are you going to do about it? And what I do about it is I inspire and inspire and inspire. I add humor, I add heat, I add beauty, I add spirituality, but it's a hot way of continuing your life, and the shame has to be given up. Pussy shame has to be given up. Age shame has to be given up. Orgasms are where it's at, and honor it and love them.
So now, and by the way, kudos to you. This is owning exactly who you are and what you love and living and breathing it every day. My question to you is, you've written a bunch of books about this.
Yes.
And you have been on TV shows, radio shows, everywhere. And obviously we'll talk in a little bit about a certain social media viral video. I wanted to ask you, as a writer and putting this stuff to paper, did you enjoy this process? Did you like capturing this message as a writer?
Oh, it's a gift. And I can't even begin to tell you what a blessing it is for me. Because what happens is, look, 82, it's like, do you want to fit me for a coffin or a condom? It's just like too weird. 82 really sounds like you're on your way out. And I expected that. I expected to be as repulsive as the old women I saw in a steam room when I was a child. Right. But for some reason, my passion for life and my love of people has made me want to not only just be a sexual object myself, but to impart a wonderful message to women of all ages and to men, that there's so much that you can do, skin to skin, naked in spirit, naked in body. You know, sometimes I have this joke that God is scratching his head and saying, I gave them sex. I thought it was the best thing I can do, and it's all messed up. It's all fucked up. So I'm kind of saying, see it on another level. This is not vulgar. This is not filthy. This is your deepest and most exquisite pleasure. As humans, it doesn't get any better than making love and orgasms. It just doesn't. It's
a phenomenal point. And right at my segue point here, I want to talk about the infamous YouTube video. So share with the Thrive Loud listeners the whole impetus of how this came to be, and talk a little bit more about it, because it'll sound a lot better coming from you. And I think our listeners will appreciate the story. We will provide links, obviously, to this very watch thing, because odds are our listeners have seen it.
Now, what I want to say to everyone who's listening, you often hear that you just never know where your path will take you. And it's always often said, don't stop before the miracle. Well, I want to share with you that I've waited a long time for my miracle. And the miracle has turned out for me in my late 70s and early 80s. That's like astonishing. And the miracle is beauty and sexuality and grace and gratitude for my whole life. So I'm telling you, if you're really passionate about something, please keep following your bliss, and there will be down points along the way. I promise you. I deal with depression, just like Lady Gaga was saying. It's not how many times you fall, but how you get up. And I'm not talking about a dick either. I can't help myself. So, you know, the most astonishing thing was, after being a model in that Dolce & Gabbana ad and being known as a cougar, all of a sudden music videos started showing up for me, and young people are so pleased to see an older woman who isn't just a curiosity. Isn't it cute, tee-hee, she still fucks? No, I am infinitely fuckable. I am a person that a young person could look at and say, I want to be like her. Now, you could say it's an ego boost. That's not what it's about. It's a human boost to me that I can make a difference for all of you listening. Believe in yourself, but you will have many times in which that belief fades. I promise you'll think you're a has-been and never will be. No, you're special, you're unique, and stay with that. Stay with it, and it will flower. So if it does for me, it will for you. I just want to add something that I think is quite hilarious and very inspiring. So I got my hatred of aging by going into a steam room with old ladies. I actually posed in my 80s, naked in a steam room for a TV show. And they cast me, not by seeing me just as an old woman. And when they saw me without clothes, they said, get up there on the very top step, and the cameraman wants close-ups of you. So you can see how that, amazing. It's amazing. It's amazing. And I feel really grateful. And I never feel vulgar. I love the words slut, pussy, twat, I don't know, devil's entry, anything. Because there has to be humor along with the beauty.
Okay. So now, and I want to get back to this about this video. How did the idea of this video come to be? And let's give a background. I forgot the rap song that it's based off of, but can you paint the picture?
Called, yeah. You know, it's funny on this episode, Friends, the monkey goes to the stereo and presses the button, and on it comes, I got bitches all on my dick, man. And he says, no, turn it off, turn it off. Well, I was hired with a sight unseen as an older woman. I'm always hired sight unseen by Backstage, by booking agents as an older woman. Then when I show up, the script always changes. And when they saw me, they said, Hattie, do you mind if we put you in a cat suit and you be a dominatrix instead of one of the older women? I said, absolutely. And don't put me at the bingo table. So... So before I knew it, I'm in a cat suit. I have a whip, and I know you people in the audience already hear that. Anything can come out of my mouth or go in, but that's another story. And I also want to add, I have never had an affair, and I have never messed with a married man or anyone in a committed relationship. So I really, when I go out there and I say the things I do and do the things I do, it comes from a very clean place, so to speak, within me, that I do not cheat and I do not lie. Anyway, so I'm in this cat suit and they give me the whip, and I said, by the way, do you have a leash? And to come out of my mouth, a leash? What does this woman know? I said, honey, if you don't have a leash, give me a belt. And I proceed to put a belt around this guy's neck. And I treat him like he's my dog. And it was wonderful. And these young people who do these videos, they're so amazing. They have creativity, they have passion, they have energy, and they energize me, and they think that I'm inspiring them. But you have to know, they inspire me. And my value as an older woman to inspire young, energize them, amuse them, turn them on. It's amazing, I promise you. It's astonishing, almost unbelievable, but let me tell you, I'm making it believable.
So we'll provide links for this in the show notes and everything for everyone to see it. But now I'm going to ask the standard Thrive Loud question that I ask just about every guest on the show, because I am dying to know the answer to this. Hattie, when you are having an off day, and I don't know when that would be, but let's just say you're not at your best and you're having trouble thriving.
Yes.
Who or what practice do you seek to get back on the thriving track?
Well, I am beset with depression. So the other side of this bubbly Hattie is a very sad and very discouraged and very depressed side. And I know that it will pass. And it does pass. And it's part of who I have always been. So I rest. I tell myself, just rest. And as a therapist, I rest, I sleep, I let my unconscious take care of the anguish. I also, I tend to make jokes about things, as you have noticed. I say, what did God put in the soil to make flowers and vegetables grow? He put manure. He put shit in the ground. And so, where does your creativity, where does your life force come from, Hattie? From shit. And I process it. There are two sides to all of us. And I have to honor the sad side because it always is followed by loving people and reaching out to them. And they always provide for me, always. My friends, my family, everyone who's now listening to me in your own way, by hearing me, you're providing for me. I hope it goes the other way too, of course, but it's that kind of the humanism. It has everything from spiritual to shit to sex, round and round.
I think that's a great point. That's part of life. For every good, there's a bad, and it's the balance of both, but it's appreciating both at the same time. And that is a key message, actually, out of all this joy this woman brings to the world. Let's do this right now. We'll do the admin part here. Hattie, where can everybody learn more about you, find more about you, RetroAge, your websites, your links? This is your chance to plug it. We will put it in the show notes, but when it comes from you, it always gets a little bit more attention.
Well, I have my web page, which is RetroAge Hattitudes. So it's RetroAgeHattitiuds. So it's RetroAge Attitudes, but with the H, RetroAgeHattitudes.com. On there, you can read about what I'm offering. I also have the book, RetroAge, 4 Steps to a Younger You. That's on Amazon. And just put in Hattie, and even if you just put Hattie on your desktop or on your search engine, it's Hattie RetroAge or Hattie Cougar on YouTube. And there you'll see inspiring videos. And if you go to my webpage, Hattitudes, RetroAge Hattitudes, you can book a private session. If you're in New York, it could be in person. And by the way, I have to be very careful with this. If men respond, I say, keep your zippers up. This is a talk session.
Right. That's great.
Yes. And so on YouTube, it's Hattie RetroAge and Hattie Cougar. And you'll read more than enough about me. And I'm very available as a therapist, specializes in sex, relationships, anti-aging, and I can answer all your questions, and nothing is off the table with us.
So Hattie, I've got 2 more questions to bring this absolutely spunky interview to a close. I'm going to start off by saying you're definitely an inspiration to the whole younger generation. I want to ask, you're pretty tech savvy. Are you on like dating apps?
Yes, I am, honey.
Oh my goodness.
Of all things, you would think I would be like on Our Time, or I'm not on Match, by the way. I tried Match, and as soon as they see my picture, I get countless replies from men in their 70s. And that's not what I'm interested in. It's, I have no prejudice against older men, but I think they should be with younger women.
That's classic. And I guess you're saying you should be with younger men as well. Makes perfect sense.
That works for you. We'll balance the scales.
Oh, hysterical. That is great.
Yeah. So Hugh Hefner has nothing on Hattie. And I'm on Tinder. And Tinder, the oldest guys who are ever on Tinder are in their late 50s, I think. And I have been consistently dating. And I'm writing a book called Cougar Chronicles. And it includes the stories from when I started years ago after I was divorced and from now on Tinder. If anybody knows an agent or a publishing house that is able to take on this book, it's hilarious, it's inspiring, and it really turns the whole tables on the older men, younger women. Yes, older women, younger men works just as well. And I could be living proof of that. And it's a good place to be in life.
This is great. This is great stuff. And now let's wrap up the show with a pretty bow here. Hattie, your all-time favorite movie?
It Happened One Night with Clark Gable and Claudette Colbert. And it is, these old films have true romance, and they are racy, because there wasn't code at that time. So you can really, I think there isn't a current movie as good as It Happened One Night. Watch it on TCM or order it. Oh, you could also go to Netflix. It's not a movie, and see Age Gap Love. That's on Netflix. They bought my episode, and I'm on with a 39-year-old former boyfriend.
There are two things I'm regretting right now. The things that I'm doing is one of the early guests on this show was Jackie the Joke Man Martling, and I feel like I needed him in this interview room with me just so to be able to hear him laughing from, formerly from the Howard Stern show. I only think that either that or Lisa Lampanelli. I'm judged between the two as to which one would have been fun comedy to be a co-host on this interview, Hattie.
Well, you mentioned Howard Stern. Well, I was on his show twice.
I'm surprised it's not more.
But we're actually working on that now.
Hattie Wiener, this has been absolutely a trip. You are an inspiration across the board, and you got to respect you. Head to toe, you are living the Cougar dream and doing what you love each and every day.
Thank you, Lou. And thank everybody there. And tap into your miracles. They will shock and delight you and inspire other people as well. That's as good as it gets.
This has been awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the show today, Hattie.
Okay, honey.
And to all the Thrive Loud listeners out there, thank you for joining us. And until next time, keep thriving onward and upward. And remember, be brief, be bright, be gone.
You've been listening to Thrive Loud with your host, Lou Diamond. Make sure to subscribe on iTunes, Overcast, or wherever you get your podcasts. And follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Thrive Loud. Or find us on the web at thriveloud.com.